Hello everyone. Today we are discussing a discrete time interval method. It's a general algorithm for hydrothermal scheduling. In hydrothermal scheduling, since we are speaking of hydro and thermal scheduling, I'm considering a system and we are trying to determine the water discharge at various intervals. What is the water discharge at various intervals? And to minimize the cost with respect to thermal generation and to meet the operating constraints, we need to keep that in mind. What are all our operating constraints of the hydro plant? Our main aim is to supply the total load with the minimum cost without any disturbance is our main motto. Okay, in this topic we are going to deal with three parameters. In that, first one is mathematical formulation of objective function. Here we are going to discuss what are all the mathematical representation of the functions. And second one is operational constraints. What are all the basic necessities that we need to fulfill in our discrete time interval method. And last one is discretization of the system, of the model. Whatever the model that we are discussing, we are going to discrete that model. Previously we have considered it as a continuous time model, and now we are going to discrete the same. Okay, now we are going to take up our first part, that is mathematical formulation of objective function. Here in mathematical formulation, let us consider the total time period of operation. In any operation, we need to set a maximum time of operation to analyze the system, and here we are considering it as a Tmax. Okay, first we are going to define the maximum time period of operation, and that is Tmax. And to continue with the further formulation, we are going to assume few things. In that, first thing is storage of the reservoir is specified at the beginning and end of the period. Okay, storage of the reservoir is specified at the beginning and end of the period, which means at the time 0 and time Tmax we are going to specify the storage of reservoir. And second part is water inflow is a known one. We know the exact water inflow to the reservoir. And last one is total demand is known for the entire period. For the period of 0 to Tmax, we know the exact demand from the consumer. Okay, and our main motto here is to minimize the total cost of generation. And here we are going to minimize ft is equal to integration of 0 to Tmax. It is a time duration starting from time 0 to the maximum time period Tmax. Ft of Pgt, thermal power generation with respect to time dt. This will be our first equation. Okay, now we are going to formulate the entire thing with respect to this equation. Our only motto is to minimize the cost function. Okay, after mathematical formulation of our objective function, next thing is we are going to take up the operational constraints. What are all the constraints that we come across in hydrothermal scheduling? First constraint is at any time active power has to be balanced between generation and the demand. You can see constraints of power balance. First one is constraint of power balance, in that at any time active power has to be balanced between generation and the demand. Whatever the load demand is there, we need to fulfill the total load, and mathematically we can represent it as thermal power generation plus hydropower generation minus P loss minus PD is equal to 0, which means total generation is equal to demand plus losses for time between 0 to Tmax for the total duration, and we are marking it as equation 2, and our first equation is a cost function f of t, and the second constraint is a constraint of water availability. That whatever the water that we are having, we are going to fulfill the power demand with respect to the reservoir water itself. So S of T max minus S of 0 minus integration of 0 to T max Q in water inlet with respect to time plus integration of 0 to T max water outlet Q naught of T into dt is equal to 0. And here S of T and S of 0 are the storage of the water at the beginning and end of the period respectively. S of 0 is the water level at the beginning, S of T is the water level at the end of the operation. Okay, basic assumptions for these two. Remember, while assuming, we know the water level at the beginning and end of the operation. And last constraint is constraint on hydropower generated. Whatever the power generated is with respect to, it's a function of water outflow and the storage of the water. Whatever the amount of water we are having, depending on that we are going to generate the hydropower plant. Okay, the total power generated is totally depend on the storage of water. It is a function of water storage. Okay, this is about the operational constraints. Remember, we are having three constraints. One is power balance, second one is water availability, and the third constraint is hydropower generated. And in the third part we are going to take up discretization. Till now we consider the continuous part. Remember, whatever we are talking here is a continuous part. Now we are going to discretize the same system. Discretization. Now we are going to discretize equation 1 and equation 4. Equation 1 is f of t integration of 0 to t max ft of pgt of t into dt. This is a continuous time function. You can see integration of 0 to t max. It's a continuous time function, equation 1. Also equation 4 is a continuous time function. You can see function of t. Wherever t comes, it is a continuous time function. Remember that. And now we are going to discretize equation 1 and equation 4. Okay, and equation 1 was f of t. We were going to minimize the cost function. Here now we are going to discretize equation 1. Now we are going to minimize summation of, previously it was integration of 0 to t max. You can see here 0 to t max, integration of 0 to t max f of pgt, and here it is summation of k is equal to 1 to n f of pgt k. Now we are going to discretize equation 1. Okay, while discretizing we are having the constants. Remember, previously also we were having constants. We were having three constants. Now we got first constant pgt, total power generated, pgt and pgh minus p loss minus pd with respect to discrete time intervals k is equal to 0, which is our equation number 6. We got our sixth equation. And remember, p loss with respect to discrete time function, p loss of k is bttk into pgtk square plus 2 bth pgtk pghk plus 2 bhh pghk whole square, where btt, bth and bhh are the loss coefficients. Okay, We discuss in detail in our next coming videos about these things, loss coefficients. Continuing with our next constraints. First constraint was our power generated constraint. Second constraint is water availability. Okay, you can go back and check the water availability constraints. S of k, previously it was S of t max, now it is S of k minus S of k minus 1. Actually it was S of t max minus S of 0 minus integration of 0 to t max, like that. Okay, and I will show you that one constraint. Here we are having our second constraint. Okay, it is a continuous time function. Previously it was continuous time function. Now we are going to discretize the same. S of k is actual one minus the previous one, S of k minus 1, minus input water inlet with respect to small time interval delta t, and water outlet with respect to small time interval delta t is equal to 0. This is our second constraint. Now we are going to divide this equation by delta t. Okay, after dividing this equation by delta t, we are going to get S star k minus S star k minus 1 minus q in k plus q naught k is equal to 0. Here we got delta t divided by delta t is 1. Sk divided by delta t is S star k, and its unit would be meter cube per second or meter cube per hour. And the hydropower generated, it is given by PGHK is equal to 9.81 into 10 raised to minus 3 HAVK within the bracket Q naught K minus rho in terms of megawatt. And here in this equation, HAVK is the average head in kth iteration. Okay, and it is represented as HAVK is equal to H naught into 1 plus 0.5 E into S star K plus S star K minus 1. This will be represented as equation 11. And substituting equation 11 in 10, which means the value of HAV in PGH equation, will be getting PGHK is equal to 9.81 into 10 raised to minus 3 H naught within bracket 1 plus 0.5 E into S star K plus S star K minus 1. This is whole multiplied by Q naught K minus rho. And this constant 9.81 into 10 raised to minus 3 multiplied with H naught is considered as H naught star. Okay, this will be represented as equation number 13 that we have marked here. H naught star is equal to 9.81 into 10 raised to minus 3 H naught. From equation 9, we can obtain the sum of all equations for value of k is equal to 1 to n. And here is our equation 9. Water constant is our equation number 9. Water constant is our equation number 9. And so by substituting the values for k is equal to 1 to n that we are having here, S star n minus S star 0, it is the last iteration and the first iteration. Water level at the beginning, water level at the end of the time period, minus summation of k is equal to 1 to n for time period first interval to nth interval, water inflow plus first interval to nth iteration water outflow is equal to 0. We are marking it into discrete time interval. Previously it was a continuous time interval, that was integration. Now we are having summation with respect to n. We are discretizing the equation, marking it as equation number 14. And lastly, after discretizing the equations, we are going for Lagrange function. And the Lagrange function L is formulated by augmenting the cost function with the constraints using Lagrangian multipliers. Okay, previously we were having only cost function. That cost function depends on some constraints. First constraint was power, second one was water, and third one was generated power. Three constraints were there, and those were totally different equations. Three constant equation and one cost function. Totally four equations were there. When it comes to Lagrangian function, he is trying to implicate all the four functions into one function using Lagrangian multiplier lambda 1, lambda 2 and lambda 3, and that can be represented as L is equal to summation of k for duration 1 to nth iteration cost function f of pgtk minus Lagrangian multiplier, first multiplier lambda 1k with respect to our first constraint plus lambda 2k Lagrangian multiplier, second multiplier with respect to our second constraint plus lambda 3 Lagrangian third multiplier with respect to generated power constraints, third constraint. Okay, all this equation represented as equation number 15. Lagrangian try to augment all the cost function and the constants into one equation, making it simpler to understand. With the Lagrangian function, we need to identify the values of lambda 1, lambda 2 and lambda 3. To evaluate those values, we equate the partial derivatives of the Lagrangian with respect to the dependent variable. Okay, we are going to partially derive the Lagrangian function L with respect to this dependent variable and equating them to 0, and then calculate the Lagrangian multiplier lambda 1, lambda 2 and lambda 3. Now we are going to firstly equation number 15 is partially derived with respect to pgtk, first function. After partially deriving the Lagrangian function with respect to pgtk, we will be left with df of pgtk divided by dpgtk minus lambda 1k into 1 minus dou p loss by dou pgtk, equating it to 0. This is our first partial derivative. Dependent variables are pgtk, pghk and s. These are dependent variables, and our first dependent variable partial derivative leads to equation number 16. The same equation number 15 is again partially derived with respect to the second dependent variable pghk. It leads to lambda 3k minus lambda 1k into 1 minus dou p loss by dou pgk, equated to 0. Here is our equation number 15, remember. Now we are going to partially derive this equation with respect to pgtk once, pghk once and s once. pgtk, pghk and s star k. After partially deriving with respect to s star k, it leads to equation number 80. Okay, with respect to these three equations, we are going to identify the value of lambda 1, lambda 2 and lambda 3. Sorry, this is lambda 2 only. Lambda 1, lambda 3 and lambda 2. Okay, again from equation 9 we can compute the value of dou L by dou Q naught, the same equation number 9. After identifying this value, it leads to S star 1 is equal to S star 0 plus Q in 1 minus Q naught 1, leads to equation number 19. In equation 15, if we substitute equation number 19 and with the k is equal to 1, okay, substituting equation number 19 in equation number 15 and with the k is equal to 1, substituting k is equal to 1, the value 19 in 15. It leads to L is equal to f of pgt. In the place of k we are putting 1 minus first Lagrangian multiplier into first constraint minus second Lagrangian multiplier second constraint plus third Lagrangian multiplier into third constraints. This will be our discrete function with respect to hydrothermal scheduling. Previously it was a continuous time. Now we got a discrete time method, a general algorithm for hydrothermal scheduling using Lagrangian multipliers. Okay. It is very much necessary to analyze the system in a discrete time interval so that we'll get to know the water level at each time interval. At the first hour, what is the water level? At second hour, what is the water level? And how much cost we need to imply on thermal scheduling. If we go for continuous time, we can't analyze at each hour or each minute. It will be difficult for us to analyze the system in a continuous time signal. So we go for discretizing the system. We can analyze the system part by part to minimize the cost function. Okay, thank you guys. We'll meet up in our next video.